Hi guys, welcome back to Geterbrewed. So today we're going to have a look at making a winemaking kit in the warehouse here. So very quickly, this is the basic winemaking starter kit that we do at Geterbrewed. So you have two 33-litre fermenters, two grommets, two airlocks, two taps. You've got the stick-on thermometers, which we have on the front of the buckets, a sterilizer, hydrometer, bottle filling stick, and a paddle for mixing. So I have put some sterilising solution into the bucket here and created a mixture, and what I want to do now is anything that's going to come into contact with the wine during the process needs to go in there, and you need to be aware of the contact times, that it's advisable to give everything a short few minutes of contact time to allow the sterilising solution to sanitise as it should. This bucket here has everything in it that's going to come into contact with the winemaking process. This bucket I've put a little bit of sterilising solution in, and you can see I've given it a good shake, and the foam is on the lid as well as the inside here, and you can see inside the bucket there. So I've given that a really good mix so that everything that's contacting inside that bucket now is sanitised and clean. So just pouring that over the other, you'll hear the expression with one of the big brands, don't fear the foam. So again, same thing with this. So all the utensils are now in there. They've had the contact time they've required. This bucket here it's been sanitized. This is the ingredient kit. So let's get the ingredient kit opened up and take a look at it. So you can see these boxes are quite clever. They have perforated cardboard that allows you to pop those out. Use the bib bag to be dispensed out through the holes that are perforated and created in that there. So we have our ingredients here. I'll open that up in a second. In this particular wine kit, there is some nice additional oak chips, additional additives there, and then we have the bib bag containing the grape concentrate. The little nozzle, this cap just pops off, and then you can push that in through here. We have bentonite, kisosol, chitosan, some sulfites, yeast. So actually 2 packets of yeast with this particular kit, and then instructions. Instructions are your friend in these wine kits. So it has everything. You can just read through this at your own leisure, explaining how to do each step by step. So the first stage is that we put the bentonite in, and that's carried out by putting a small amount of water into the fermentation vessel, and then opening the bentonite and sprinkling that on and giving it a good mix. So some warm water. So it can be common for bentonite not to dissolve easily. It's not something to be worried about. At this stage, I'm just trying to dissolve the bentonite into the little bit of warm water that I've added. So you're trying your best to get that as mixed as well as possible. Now, bentonite, as I said, doesn't like mixing that easily, but if you're just a little bit of patience, you will get there eventually. Next stage is just to pop the cap off. Yeah, pop the cap off, and then just gently pour that in. Immediately, lovely aroma coming off the grape concentrate. So just take your time. Obviously, you don't want it splashing too much. This is some really good quality grape concentrate. Beautiful aroma. So some of our wine kits will have different quantities of grape concentrate, and as a general rule of thumb, the higher the volume of grape concentrate, the better the quality of the wine kit. It's a bit like with the extract beer kits and things that you would make at home. Once we get the majority of the contents out, we would then use a little bit of hot water into the bib bag, just so that we're getting everything we possibly can out of the contents. Pour the water just into the bib bags. So now we want to hydrate the grape concentrate and give it a really good mix to ensure that the sugar content's mixed equally before we take our gravity reading. So what I'm going to do now is add more water to hydrate the grape concentrate and bring it up to the target of 23 litres. Now, some home winemakers choose to make that a little bit less to make it more full-bodied and obviously a stronger wine. Okay, so we're just going to keep adding water till we bring that up to the 23 litre mark. And the aim is to be using a mixture of hot and cold water so that you're achieving your target fermentation temperature as you go along. So just a little bit more, take us up to the 23 litre mark and also hit the temperature that I want to achieve as well. It smells really good at this stage. You can tell it's a very thick, concentrated wine grape juice that we have in there. So now what we want to do is take a gravity reading. We want to make sure that the concentrate in the water is getting a really good mix so that we get an accurate sugar content reading from the hydrometer. You can take your hydrometer and drop it straight in to get a reading. It can be a little bit more difficult to read dropping straight into the fermenter, so what I tend to do is take a sample off into the trial jar and test it that way, or you can use a wine thief. So wine thief is just where it's dropped into the liquid, little thumbprint over the top and taken off and just drop it into your trial jar. So I've just turned the bucket slightly over the edge of the table there to allow me to fill the sample tube about 2/3 of the way up. Just drop the hydrometer in and give it a little spin as it goes in to allow us to take the gravity reading. 94 on this particular kit. So we want to take a note of that and just put it down on our instructions. We'll add that oak chip addition now. Just going to empty the 3 packets in now and make sure that they're really well mixed. So different types of oak obviously impart different flavours, so you're getting different levels of toast in these options. And then those are granular oaks and these are actually oak chips. And we'll just give those a mix into there's not oak chips in all wine kits, it's just certain varieties call for that. So this is a Cabernet Shiraz, and it's got a couple of different oak chip formats with it. So okay, so we've taken care during this whole process to ensure that everything's sterile and clean, sanitized. Everything that touches it has been sterilized and cleaned. So what we've done at this stage is we've sterilized the yeast packets using the non-rinse sterilizer and sterilized the knife that we're going to use to open those. So if there is 2 packets of yeast in your wine kit, make sure that you're adding both packets. I'm going to sprinkle the contents just on top of the wine. So both packets of yeast are now added. You don't need to mix the yeast in. It's going to be able to get going on its own there. Yeah, so we have the sanitized fermentation lid and we're just going to pop that on top and push that down nice and securely all the way around, making sure that we've got a really good seal on everything. And then finally we take our bubbler airlock, which has been sitting in the sanitizing solution, that the airlock allows fermentation to take place and the carbon dioxide to escape, but it doesn't allow oxygen or microbes or bacteria or anything to get in through the water here. So just keep that topped up halfway. Sometimes you may need to refill that during the fermentation process. Just keep an eye on it. That is the wine kit on. That is it, ready for fermentation to take place. The key thing to remember now is that it needs to be at a constant temperature. Yeast does not like fluctuations in temperature, so whether that's in a room with a regulated temperature, whether you build a fermentation chamber or whether you use something purpose made like a fermentator, which we sell online, and that regulates it precisely. So we're at the second stage of making a quality red wine at home. As I've mentioned before, the instructions are really detailed and really good in these wine expert wine kits. So we've got to the stabilising and degassing stage, and how we want to start is by taking a gravity reading just to check that the fermentation is complete. So we've drawn a sample off the tap on the bottom of the fermenter, We've got our hydrometer here, just spin that in, let it take a reading so we can check that fermentation is complete and that it's remained stable at that gravity, and we can document that against the starting gravity and use a little brewing calculator on one of the apps that are available on your phone just to work out what the percentage is. So I use the app Brewer's Friend on my phone. There's lots of different options out there. It's just the one that I've always used from I've been a home brewer. So starting gravity on this was 1100, and then we just checked the gravity there and it was 0.996 update. So we can see that the alcohol in this particular batch of wine is 13.65% at the moment, which is really nice ABV for a quality red wine at home. It wouldn't hurt to enjoy a taste of the wine. Obviously it's before it's been degassed and stabilised, but it's still a good quality wine at this stage. So it's a really full-bodied, fruity, impressive red wine, even at this early stage. I try to emphasize this to people all the time. I genuinely think that you would be impressed with the advances in technology with modern homebrew winemaking kits, and this is a very good example of that. We've sanitized a bucket, which is just another fermenter, to rack. It's called racking. So what you're wanting to do is transfer the wine from one fermenter into the second fermenter, because during primary fermentation there'll be a sediment and wine lees that sits below the tap in the primary fermentation. You want to take the wine off that into the second fermenter, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add some of the additions here and give it a really good stir to degas the wine. So what we're going to do now is just pop a little bit of PVC hosing on just to allow us to transfer into the second fermentation vessel. So once we've got that popped on, we can switch the tap on, and then you can see that the wine starts to flow from one fermenter into the other. The little bit of bubbles that are on the top of the wine at the moment are a little bit of foam that's left off from the non-rinse sanitizer, nothing to be concerned about at all. So we're transferring using a tap because it's a siphonless starter kit that Geterbrewed would promote. You can use a siphon, and obviously you can use gravity, lift the bucket up and tilt it towards the tap without the PVC hosing. It's entirely your choice. So at this stage, I'm going to put the potassium sorbate or the sulfites in. Now, it's your choice whether you add these or not, because a lot of people like not to add them, and then it means that it's a more organic style of wine without sulfites or additives. Still dealing with a wine, ensuring everything's sterile, everything that touches everything is sterile. The last thing you want to do is go to all the hassle of this and then let an infection creep in at this stage. So we're going to give this a really good degas. So just take your sterile beer paddle and then very good stir, intermittently changing, you know, what direction that you're going in to make sure that we're degassing the wine and also getting the sulfites, chitosans and other additives that we're going to put in dissolved properly. So if we tilt this forward just a little bit, just so we can catch that little bit more of the wine. Now obviously you're not wanting the wine lees or what's left over from the fermentation to transfer over, so just being very careful. We're at the degassing stage, so now what you need to do is just take your transfer is complete. Take your time with this stage. This is something that you want to get right. So you want to get all of the gases out that have been created during fermentation. So really good stir, alternating what way you're stirring periodically, just every few minutes for a good, 10 minutes. The better this is degassed, the better the quality of the wine. You can add that you can get degassers as a separate product if you don't want to do this manually, and you can attach it to a drill and just pop it in and blitz it with the drill. So you can see whenever you start to degas that the bubbles start to form on the top of the wine, and the more that you stir and the more that you degas it, the finer that those bubbles will get. It means that you're getting rid of all the gases that have been produced during fermentation. If you don't get rid of them, what happens is you get like a prickly sensation on your tongue when you drink the wine after you've bottled it, and it's not a pleasant sensation, and it's genuinely worth taking the 10 minutes and giving this a really good stir to get the gases out of it. Okay, so I'm happy that I've completed the degassing stage. So what I'm going to do now is take, remember again the comments that I'm making about sterilisation and sanitisation. So ensuring that the outer side of your Kisasol sachet is sterile and that your scissors are sterile, and just cutting that open and giving that a nice mix down into the wine. So giving that a little mix, and what we're going to do is we're going to pop the lid on now and leave this for a day, and we'll return to this tomorrow, and then we'll add the Chittisan sachet, and that will be the findings complete at that stage. 24 hours later, we're going to take our sterilised Chittisan packet, sterilised scissors again. This has been sterilised. We're going to pop the lid off and just cut this open and add this. Now this is Chittisan is just a clearing agent. Again, it's your choice whether or not you add these. A lot of people choose to make the wine without any additives, just to have a more organic finish. Any difference that you're going to see would be visual. I'm going to give this a very gentle stir. So what I'm going to do now is pop the lid back on this and then leave this for a few days. You can then move on to, like your instructions will talk about, as it says here, you know, we're at the clearing stage, and it'll go on to polish and racking, and whether you want to consider filtering your wine. Personally, I don't filter any homemade wine that we make at home, and we're really happy with the clarity and the quality of that. And these Wine Expert wine kits will genuinely impress a wide variety of people. Even the most disconcerting wine connoisseur will be shocked at the quality of the wine that can be created from these wine kits. So we give this a short period of time before we move it on to the bottling stage. Then take our time at the bottling stage. The wine can be enjoyed as soon as it's bottled, but as with all wines, with a short amount of aging after bottling, it improves the quality considerably. So it's always nice to have a bottle as soon as it's packaged, and then again you would see the improvement as the weeks and months went on. We've got to the stage where we're bottling. So this is a green wine bottle. The red wine's commonly packaged in a green bottle. So these bottles have been sterilised. We have videos on the channel showing you how to sterilise the bottles correctly if you want to refer to those for reference. So we're going to bottle a bottle of red wine now. Once you turn the tap on, that's the flow starts. Then we take our bottle of wine, bottle filling stick hits the bottom of the bottle. The red wine starts to flow in. You can see now at this stage that the wine's flowing up. There's a nice aroma coming off this. Wine bottling, it's a very rewarding hobby. You may get to the stage where you're almost tempted to drink the wine from the bucket, which you can do, but we suggest that you bottle it. So as you can see, that's coming up the neck of the bottle. As we pull away, flow stops, and then you're ready for the next bottle. So we take our bottle of wine, our twin lever corker, and we load the little channel there with the cork. So making sure that we've got a good seal on the top of the bottle. Now what you want to do is bring your levers down slowly and securely into till it gets like a support onto the sides of the neck of the bottle. Now what I like to do is use my thumbs to have a nice guide down the arms of the twin lever corker, and then just one swift push down should allow you to cork that nice and easily, and then lift it off, and that's the wine bottle corked. You can add little shrink sleeves that go over the top of it, and then you can use a hairdryer or rotate it over a kettle of boiling water, which shrinks that in nice and tight. A lot of people like to put labels on it. We have made wine at home ourselves that we've then went on to present to our friends and family as gifts, or we've even presented wine at friends' weddings, so we've had the personalised label put on it. So it is possible to make really premium quality red wine at home, and you will be genuinely impressed at what's achievable. You have to remember that you're not paying VAT, you're not paying government duty, so there's a lot more money to be saved there, and the quality of the wine concentrate that's in this and the innovative technology that the winemaking companies have adopted in modern day winemaking kits will truly impress you. So thanks so much for watching today. Until next time, cheers.